He's a man out of time, still coping with life in modern day. Captain America will question everything he holds dear when a secret threat invades the world's foremost espionage and crime-fighting agency. That's the basic setup for Captain America the Winter Soldier, a film that I think is the best one so far in the Marvel franchise of movies. I'm John Arey of PhotonCityNews.com, and today we'll be talking about that movie, its ramifications on things like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., future Marvel projects, and I'm going to try and keep the hyperbolic talk at a minimum as best I can, and we'll be saving the spoilers for later. So let's get into it. Why does this film work? First off, the action. It's effective and it's visceral. I like how the Russo brothers, the guys who directed the movie, use CG to enhance the strength and agility of the superheroes that we see on screen. The one-on-one matchups between Cap and the Winter Soldier, I believe, are some of the best hero fights we've ever seen in TV, movies, ever, in a live-action format. I think the Russo brothers have finally figured out how to choreograph Cap using that shield against multiple enemies in combat and make it look real and make it look good and powerful and punishing. We've seen glimmers of it in the first Avenger and the Avengers, but here I think we've fully realized how Cap would actually use it in real life as both a defensive and offensive weapon. Also, I like how the Russo brothers have figured out how to transfer the Falcon, a guy whose main power is to fly with these giant wings, into a live action format that both feels real and natural. It looks really, really good on screen, and that was one of my big worries coming into this movie. How do you make the Falcon look plausible? Well, they do it here. I'm not going to really explain how, but it makes sense, and I bought into it full force.
I'm not dead yet!
But the action doesn't mean anything unless you have characters to root for. And here, the characters are the most vulnerable that we've ever seen before in a Marvel film.
For the longest time, I just wanted to do what was right. I'm not quite sure what that means anymore.
To see Cap questioning his place in the world, he has major reservations about serving an organization that he doesn't fully understand or agree with.
What about the nurse that lives across the hall from you? She seems kind of nice.
Secure the engine room, then find me a date.
I'm multitasking.
Then we have Black Widow, who serves as a nice counterpoint to Cap, having to sacrifice her own secrets for the good of the world. Then we have Nick Fury, who finds himself for the first time in a position of weakness after getting outmaneuvered by the bad guys. Up to this point, Samuel L. Jackson has been able to coast by as Fury, barking orders at the Avengers and working from a place of unquestioned authority. It's interesting to see him have to shift gears now, watching the world he built up since the very first Marvel movie come crashing down around him. Then we have the performances, and we have very few superhero movies that are headlined by bona fide legends. There, of course, is Batman with Jack Nicholson, Superman with Marlon Brando, and now Captain America 2 with Robert Redford. He brings a weight and a complexity to his role. 100 other actors maybe could have played it just as well, but seeing Redford, a living legend on the screen next to Samuel L. Jackson, playing opposite of Chris Evans, it brings a certain gravitas to the film, making the events that happen here feel a little bit more weighted and a little bit more important. Along with Redford, you have Frank Grillo, who plays this smug, arrogant S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. You just want to slap the guy from the very first scene you encounter him in. It's a subtle performance that leads to a nice counterbalance to Cap.
He's a ghost. You'll never find him.
Then we have Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier. Even with only a few lines, he comes off as one of the most menacing, interesting, and deeply troubled Marvel villains yet. I really hope we get to see the Winter Soldier as a bad guy in future Marvel projects. But I think what works best about this movie is the setting. The fact that it takes place in the Marvel Universe, you just kind of buy in to everything that happens, even when you have these ludicrous twists in the story.
Hey, Cap, how do we know the good guys from the bad guys? If they're shooting at you, they're bad.
Or these giant leaps in logic. You just go with it. It's a superhero film at its core, and a lot of these twists involve characters and settings that have already been established somewhere earlier. So they're familiar, you understand where they're coming from, and you just go with it. If this had been a James Bond movie, and there are several similarities between Captain America 2 and a normal James Bond film, you couldn't have half of this stuff happen because it's so outrageous and so bold. As far as the negatives go, it's really nitpicking at this point. This movie does so many things well that it's really easy to overlook any of the little inconsistencies or plot problems you might have with it. If I had one complaint, it's a complaint that constantly comes up on these solo films. It's that we never get to see Cap reach out to his fellow Avengers. Big stuff happens here. He doesn't have very many people he can turn to, yet we never see him reach out for Tony Stark or Bruce Banner or try to get a hold of Thor. Where's Hawkeye in this whole thing? He's a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? But that's okay. Apparently, according to Marvel, Iron Man 3 is happening around the same time as Captain America 2. So even if Captain America did try to reach out to Tony Stark's going to be busy. It would have been nice, though, if he at least made the gesture on film where we could see him kind of tie in Avengers a little bit more with Cap 2. Overall, this is, like I said before, probably the best Marvel film of the bunch up to this point. One of those reasons, it feels like a part of a bigger story as far as Captain America goes. We get to see his progress as a character. The other films so far, the other standalone Marvel films, haven't had this sort of tied in, tight storytelling. Iron Man 1 through 3, each one of those films can kind of stand on its own without really tying into each other. Same way with Thor. This one, it feels like part of a bigger story that we're going to finally get a bigger payoff in with Cap 3 and probably Avengers 2.
On my mark. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so those are my critical thoughts about Captain America 2. Now let's talk about the ramifications this film could have on other projects across the Marvel Universe. This is where we get into some spoiler territory. If you don't want to be spoiled, leave this video right now. Stop watching. Okay, here we go. Let's start first with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's where we're going to start seeing these ramifications take place first. Now that we know that Hydra has infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and they're an international threat, I think there's a possibility that some of the agents that we've encountered up to this season so far could be Hydra agents themselves. Likely suspects include Bill Paxton as Agent Garrett, his sidekick.
I count 2 hostiles.
Copy that. Ready?
Also, with the reveal of Arnim Zola halfway into Cap 2, he seems like a likely suspect as the Clairvoyant. We already know that he's come up with an algorithm that tracks the movements and the threats of Hydra's enemies across the world. This algorithm is an easy way to explain how the Clairvoyant is able to track the movements of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, how the Clairvoyant is able to predict the future behavior of its enemy agents. Arnim Zola seems to be a shoo-in as the Clairvoyant. I could be wrong about that. We see his network of 70s computer banks destroyed in this movie, but I don't think it'd be that hard to repair him, put all those 70s memory banks onto a 3 terabyte hard drive and get him going again. All right, moving on to Bucky. We saw him take on the mantle of the Winter Soldier, and seeing his actions in Captain America, I sort of think that he will eventually take over the mantle of Captain America. Here's why. We know that Sebastian Stan, the guy who plays Bucky in the Winter Soldier, he has a 9-picture deal with Marvel. Chris Evans has a 6-picture deal with Marvel, meaning after Avengers 3, Chris Evans is out of here. Now, in my opinion, Captain America is sort of the heart and soul of the Marvel Universe. You kill him off, you get rid of him, that's a pretty big dramatic event. One that I think bodes very well for Joss Whedon and his sensibilities. He loves killing off big characters that people have deep ties to. I mean, look at Agent Coulson. I think we could see perhaps Captain America maybe give up his life at the end of Avengers 3 to Thanos to save the group some way. Definitely be a gut punch, but it leaves the door open for Bucky to return as Captain America, get another trilogy out of that character. Even though Chris Evans wants to take off, we still have Sebastian Stan, and really he has the same powers as Captain America. He has the same background for the most part. We've seen him throw the shield. He's been frozen since World War II, coming in and out of cryostasis from time to time. He's a man out of time himself, getting to know his world around him and getting to know himself. It seems like a natural progression for the character and could make for a really, really great series of movies. Finally, we have Hydra and its impact on Avengers 2. We get to see Baron von Strucker in the cutscene at the end of this film. We know that he has Loki's power staff. We know that he has two super beings locked up, somewhat brainwashed with Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. And we actually get to see them and a little bit of their powers. They look really, really cool. I'm really excited about them.
When do we start?
We just did.
All right, so those are all my thoughts on Captain America 2. I really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I think it sets the bar really high for superhero films. Good luck, DC, living up to this thing. It's amazing. It's incredible. I really enjoyed it. So those are my thoughts on Captain America 2. I'd love to hear yours. You can leave your comments below and keep checking in with Photon City News for more news and reviews. I'm John Airy.